Numbers is a book about stubbornness. Stubborn sinfulness from God's people and stubborn grace from God himself. Context is important when we read the book of Numbers. It comes after Exodus, in which God miraculously and mercifully rescues his people out of Egypt. It comes after Leviticus, where God gloriously comes to live amongst his people. Numbers then tells of a journey that should have taken a matter of weeks, but ends up taking 40 years. Why? Because of the stubborn sinfulness of God's people. The heart of the book is one account after another of the stubborn sinfulness of God's people. And as you read the book of Numbers, you might well come to the conclusion that Israel is behaving a bit like one of these. They are as stubborn as a mule, if not more. Repeatedly, they will accuse God of being a wicked murderer rather than a merciful saviour. That's their conclusion as they spy out the land. That's their conclusion as they complain about Moses' leadership. That's their conclusion when they don't have enough food to eat and water to drink. Stubborn sinfulness. God responds in just punishment time and again to the people's stubborn sinfulness. So as we read the book of Numbers, remember the book serves as a warning for us. Our hearts can just as easily repeat this same stubborn sinfulness. Numbers reminds us that if this attitude and action is left unchecked in us, we will incur God's right judgment. The latter part of Numbers tells us of someone else's stubbornness. Not the stubbornness of the people, but of God and his stubborn and sweet grace. An enigmatic figure, Balaam, comes onto the stage. He's hired to curse God's people. But under God's direction, and even through his donkey, he blesses God's people time and time and time again, even promising for them a future king for Israel who will lead them into victory. All of this goes on without Israel knowing, without Israel asking, and without Israel deserving. How come? Because God is stubbornly gracious towards his people. So as we read the book of Numbers, remember that it's because of this grace that we can have hope. Hope that God will show us that same grace as we turn to him day by day. The book is structured around 3 locations and 2 journeys. Mount Sinai serves as the introduction as God is placed slap bang in the middle of his people and as they are given further instructions on how to be holy. The wilderness of Paran and the journey to it and from it are characterized by Israel's stubborn sinfulness, as both God and Moses are opposed, and we find God responds in judgment time and again. The plains of Moab are then characterized by God's stubborn and sweet grace, as God blesses his people, counts the new generation to go into the promised land, gives them military victories, and even gives some of the people a portion of the land. The book of Numbers is a book about stubbornness. It exposes our stubborn inclination to sin, serving as a warning. It exalts in God's stubborn inclination to grace, giving us hope.